just going to turn it over to you, Susie.
Perfect. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for taking the time during your summer. I know some of you are starting school probably very soon. So I'm excited to share what I have with you today. I'm going to go over just a couple of tools. Just to give you a little background about myself, I am in Southern California. So it's nice and sunny out here right now. I am a middle school English teacher for the last 10 years. I'm a Google certified educator, and I taught from home with a now 1-year-old. So it was, to say the least, the most challenging year of teaching by far. So what I'm going to share with you is, if a mom can do this from home with a toddler or an infant, you can definitely bet that these tools will be helpful to you in just like consolidating and mainstreaming some of the things that you need for your classroom. So some of the things that you are going to see today are Google Sites. This was kind of like the hub for all of my resources. And if you were in the Unconference last year, that was one of the things I focused on. But after a year of using it, both in person with students and now remotely with students, I kind of have some insight of how you can best utilize that resource. Google Slides, of course, in different ways that you can incorporate the slides into the site. I used Canva to create some graphics, and I'll give you a link where you can get a free educator account so that you can get a lot of different clip arts that normally you would have to pay for, but it's free for educators. We're going to talk about Lookit, which if you're on social media, you've probably seen a lot of teachers talk about that and how that integrates with Quizlet nicely, and then Padlet, which was a lifesaver as well. So let's talk about Google Sites very quickly. Google Sites can be used in multiple ways as a tool in your classroom. In the past, I specifically used it for students to create their own digital portfolios. And when we had like student-led conferences, then the kids would share their work with their parents, the community, and other kids could be able to see each other's digital portfolios as well. I also have used it in the past as a digital bookshelf so that students can share what novels they've read. Like I said, I'm a middle school English teacher, so we try to find different ways for them to share what they're reading independently. We've used it in the past for class reflections. Resource curation is what I've been working on this year, mostly also as a class web page. That's what I use it for this past year. But I also seen people use it as escape rooms. So it just really depends on what you want, right? It's a website that you can give to students or to parents. And I found that that was very useful. So we'll focus on how we can use a Google site to create a virtual classroom as a hub of resources for your students. So if you're anything like me, you probably have tons of websites that your students need to access, whether it's, I know that in my school we use GoFormative, we use Google Classroom, they use Edge Elastic, they use Quizlet sometimes to study their vocabulary. They just have so many portals that they need to access. And a lot of them have different usernames and passwords. So if you don't have something that's paid through your district, like Clever, or you have something that like gets you to log into things automatically, and your kids really need to like have a centralized location for all these resources, creating a Google site with that location where kids can find everything all the time is really important. So to create a Google site, if you have a Google Gmail account, you can basically create one for free. It's just like creating a Google Doc or a Google slideshow, right? So you go to your apps, or you can go to like Google Sites/new, and you can create a blank one. They also have some templates you can use. So it just really depends if you want to be more creative or if you just want to stick to something simple and just get it done, right? So it looks just like you were about to create a document. So some things that you can include, and I'll show you what mine looked like for my students. The one that I use the most when it was an important links page. And the reason that is if you taught remotely, you know that kids would always ask you for like, what the link for a certain site or resource. I know that some, for example, in my school, we use accelerated readers. So the URL is very like site specific. So the kids just can't Google accelerated reader, they have to have the exact site for our school site. So sometimes you have very intricate websites like that for your kids. So having the important links central hub was a lifesaver because I could pin it in my Google Classroom. I could send it to parents. I can just drop it in the chat at any time. I can have the kids bookmark it, and that way they have this one page with everything we're going to use for that school year. And I could always update it and add to it, and then it will reflect on the link the kids already have. You can also create a page for each unit in your website if you like. You can put digital anchor charts on there. You can create a word wall, a digital library, or digital bulletin board as well. So let me show you what mine look like real quick. So this is what, let me see, where is it? So this is what my important links page looked like. And so I had like a direct link to all the resources that my students needed for the school year. So whichever one they needed, they would just go there and click it. With Canva, I created these graphics here, which you can create on Google Slides if you would like to as well, with the kids' login information so that they didn't have to keep asking me every time how to log on to certain resources. And then any class code that they needed for something as well. I also had, using Google Slides, like a early finishers choice board, because if you don't have that for your like super quick students, then the next question, logical question would be like, what do I do now, right? So I always had something there where they knew, okay, I'm done, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna wait for the next thing on my on the choice board, right? Something that I can do extra while I wait. So that was like a really, really good resource just to have in my Google Classroom at all times. The other thing was sometimes I would get emails from parents saying like, my kid doesn't know how to log on to blank. And I can just reference like, here's this link that I've given out since the beginning of the school year with all the links and the login information. So it was always very easy to just give that to students and parents, right? So that we're on the same page. We all know that it's there. And it's, again, a central location to have it done. So that was very, very cool for me to have as well. Like I said, sometimes I would have certain posters that normally, right, in the classroom I would have up. And sometimes you'll see that students like really can't see them from where they're sitting, or they really have to like, really stretch out to kind of see certain posters, or you have to move the posters over, or sometimes you just don't have the nicest penmanship to write these like cute little anchor charts. So the other thing that you can also do is just create digital ones and then have a page where they're just all there, right? And kids can always just go to that specific page to find the anchor charts for something that they need. So either their discussion frames, or if they sentence starters. Normally I'll give them like a list of transition words, things that they can find in one central location. Now, the really cool thing about having them on the site versus posting it in your Google Classroom is that if you know anything about middle school, right? In my school, my kids have 7 classes. 7 classes, that's 7 teachers. And if you can imagine, right, every teacher posting 2 things a day, that becomes overwhelming, and it just drowns in their email. So it's just been really nice for me to keep my Google Classroom nice and consolidated and not have a bunch of links where kids know like my Google Classroom, this is where my assignments are, and I can always just click on this link to find any other resources for this class. So I'll show you how I linked it in my Google Classroom. So this is my Google Classroom. And under classwork, I created a category that says important links. And there they'll find their Google Classroom site. That just takes them to all these resources I just showed you, instead of having like a bunch of links there. And their notes, I had a support block. And then every month, I created a new category for the assignments for that month. And this just kind of, reduces the amount of stress on students because they always know what month they're in. So they'll know, okay, for this month, this is what we've done. And they can go see their assignments there numbered by month. And then they know that the important links are always at the top. So just the fact that you can organize this stuff in a way that doesn't overwhelm them, is not just a stream where they're trying to dig for their assignments and dig for their resource and where did my teacher post this, right? Just kind of keep things nice and clean cut has been really nice for me at least. And just, a lot of less questions of where can I find so and so. So That's been the biggest thing that's really helped me during distance learning, and that I know I can translate into like in-person learning. Just having a more streamlined way of sharing documents, sharing assignments, and sharing things with my students. So resources you can maximize. A Google site, like I said, is very much like a Google slideshow. So you can embed all kinds of things. You can embed multiple slideshows. You can embed Quizlet decks. You can embed animated graphics from Canva. You can even embed YouTube videos that you either create yourself or that you find online. So it's just a nice place where you can add a lot of different things, and you can update it, and then it updates accordingly, of course. I'm not going to go over the logistics on how to create the Google site, but I do have a YouTube channel where you can see other tutorials where I kind of walk through some of those things if you want to see them. So some of the just benefits, right, would be a centralized location for resources, make resources available when needed. So you can also hide pages. So if you want to work ahead of time and create pages and just not make them visible for students, you have the option to do that. You can also, which I really love, is that you can hide them after the fact. So if I, like, for example, this upcoming school year, if I know, okay, well, I'm going to do the same unit, but I don't want them to see those units yet, I can hide them now so that when I share it with my new set of students, they don't see it, but the work's already there and done for me. So it's kind of like, planning ahead. So central hub without drowning students' emails, that has been really important. And my students always told me how many emails they got in a day and that they were overwhelmed, they couldn't find things, that they had so many announcements in their Google Classroom. And that was something that I really took into account because I had that myself, as a teacher, I had tons of emails. And so if I had everything nice and organized, that makes life so much easier. You can reuse and revise your site as needed. You can pin the Google site in your Google Classroom, like I showed you, like I did, and you can share it with parents as well. That has been probably the most beneficial thing as well. And you can refer students to one location versus multiple locations. All right, so that was one of the things that really helped me stay organized. So I would definitely suggest that you create either something like that or just have a central hub for your students. So one of the other things that my kids really enjoyed and really just gave me like a couple of minutes to just get myself organized for class or transition from one thing to the next, using Blooket. And if you have existing Quizlet sets already, I created my Quizlet sets for some resources a year or two, 1 or 2 summers ago, and I organized everything by unit. And we did Quizlet Live, but at some point you want to change it up, right? So this was just such an easy option to import things when you've already done the work. So if I can show you real quick, right, how easy it is. So all you have to do is take your existing Quizlet deck and you go to the 3 dots to export. And Blooket does give you instructions on how to do all this. So go to export, and then all you have to do is put copy text. Okay, and then you go to the blooket.com website, and you create not a new folder, a new set. Right, so I'm just gonna name this test. And here it says Quizlet import quick and easy. So I'm going to click it. And then I'm going to create your set. And now you can search it or you can put your Quizlet set. And I'll show you exactly what it does in a second. And it does give you like all these options here. It tells you how to do what I just taught you how to do. So next step. And then you just paste it. So then you put add questions. So like if you already have your Quizlet sets, and this is super easy for you to do. So then it'll create a set. And what Blooket does is basically it takes that one set and creates multiple games that you can choose to play with your students, review games, mostly matching multiple choice. So what I really love about it is that you have different options, right? So that you're not just kind of using the same ones over and over, the same game over and over. Yeah, and I think my kids' favorite one is the one where they steal money from each other, like fake money. So it's just very motivating for students. So I'll show you once you have your set, right? So see that the set's already created. I didn't have to type anything in. And so you can host a game. Yes, it is free. Yeah. My kids still like Quizlet Live, but it was just nice to have something different, right? So they have this one's new. I haven't played this crypto hack. My kids really like this gold quest one. And basically what this does is you answer questions like over and over again from the set that you created. And then the kids have the option of stealing money from or points from the people that have the most points and swapping. And so they just get really competitive. What I really like about this is that it's not like Kahoot or quizzes where everyone has to finish. Um, you you can put a time limit. So if you just need 5 minutes to like go set something up, or you need 5 minutes to like load a page or a quiz or something like that, then you can just put I just need the kids to pay for 5 minutes and the game will end in 5 minutes. So I really like that that's an option, the time limit versus like number of questions or like till someone is done, and it just kind of lets the kids know, okay, we're going to play for 5 minutes and that's it, and that you can change the time that you need. So that has been really cool as well. And then they have, like I said, all these other games that you can play. Let me just load it up real quick. So that was the favorite one. They have this tower defense one, a cafe one where they can like pretend they're a restaurant, right? There's like battle royale racing one. There's all kinds of one, the classic kind of like Kahoot type thing. Um, so it's just like you have all these game options and you just prep that in like less than a couple minutes. So I really like that. You know, it's less work for you and more engaging for the students, which is always a plus with teachers because we don't have a lot of time. So they can definitely play independently. I think there's also like an assign for homework option or like a to play on their own. So you can definitely play with that as well. I definitely just used it when either I just introduce vocabulary and I want to do a quick review, or the next day I can, okay, let's play this for 5 minutes while I take attendance, or, just kind of like a little extra activity you can have, and it's educational and it's fun. So, yeah, if you have Quizlet sets, it's super easy because you already did the hard part. Yes, they can play it on their laptops and also on their phones. Yeah, and it's just a code, so it's really, really cool. Yeah. All right. The next thing is I have and I think I'm going to have to open for questions soon. Is that right? Um, I use I've seen a lot of new teachers, and I know now that we're digital, you probably don't do it as much, but I love having my students write physically on a notebook. I think it's important. I think that having them write versus type everything is important. And some kids have told me that they really enjoy just writing stuff down, especially now that we've been like kind of like at home. I don't collect notebooks. I stopped doing that after very quickly after I would carry tons of notebooks in my car and leave them in my car over the weekend. I've seen a lot of new teachers, kind of want to do that as well. And Padlet has been like a lifesaver in terms of just letting me see what my kids are writing without having to touch anyone's paper. I used to go around and like stamp their notebook and kind of just double check that you finish as a formative assessment. But now I think this has been so powerful for me to be able to see, did they do their classwork? They're writing their notes, right? That other kids can see their classwork or their notes and learn from their notes, right? Like, and you can use someone's notes as an example of what good note taking looks like. So that has been really, really cool. So I can just quickly show you before we open up for questions. The Padlet, I basically created a column for every page in the notebook that I thought I'm going to check today. I just want to see it. I didn't grade this, but my kids think I graded. So that's the important part. Is mostly like just accountability in the classroom. Did you write stuff down? Do you have something down that you can study later? And so I would create a column for every page and the title of it. And then the kids would post a picture of their notes. And this was also just kind of like cool for me to see like, okay, so-and-so finished their notes, so-and-so finished their notes. And then it was just accountability And I think that most kids felt like, oh, I need to finish my notes because, like 10 people are done, so I should be done as well. And also for when kids were absent and they have a missing page in their notebook, they didn't have to ask me what was in the notebook. I can just say, go see what your kids wrote down, other kids wrote down, see what you missed. And that was very powerful for them to have as well. Okay, so I think we need to open for questions. Is that right, Rory?
Yeah, Susie, so much incredible information. Thank you so much for sharing. So a few questions in the chat. Some of them you definitely already answered as we've been going through. Someone asked, is Blue free? Yes, it's free. There is a paid version, but I don't think.
Yeah, I can tell you that I used the free version all year long and it was perfect.
Same. So that's good. Someone asked if you can connect Google Sites to Google Classroom.
Yeah, so I just put the link as an important resource and then they can just click it from there.
Yes. We did drop your YouTube channel into the chat, so that is there so people can watch some of your other videos that you have there for sure. Megan asked, if there is time, can you please show us a word wall that you created? So from your Google site, I want to see your word wall.
So I basically just embedded my Quizlet decks because that's the easiest thing I could do. Because like I said, I already had them done. So for every story that we read, I would embed the flashcards and the Quizlet match game. And as we read the story, then the kids could go here and just look for the study the cards and then play the game. So there they are, and then so they had like the word and definition, and then they can start the game here and play everything on the Google site itself. So that was just kind of cool because they didn't have to like go to Quizlet and find the deck, or I have to drop the link every time. It was just here. And then as we read the story, then I would add the next one, and they would just know you can come here for any vocabulary that we're studying in class.
Awesome. Excellent, excellent. So listen, we are out of time, but I know there's a bunch of other questions still in the Q&A, but we are out of time. Awesome. This is what I was going to ask for. So guys, go ahead and follow Susie on Instagram and Twitter. Her YouTube channel is Engage the Middle. So even if you just type in Engage the Middle into YouTube, you will jump to her YouTube channel. She's got tutorial videos. Her email is also there. So please reach out as needed. And you've definitely given people a lot of ideas to think about for sure. And so hopefully teachers can start using them for sure if they haven't already been doing that. Awesome. Yeah. Susie, thank you so much. Thank you so much to everyone that's here. We have about an hour break until our next session. So I will see all of you guys then. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for your time. Bye, everyone.